Prominent names, including Joss Stone, Kamasi Washington, and Snarky Puppy, have been treating audiences to an eclectic array of dynamic performances. One of the festival's most popular events, Jazz in the Parks, offered up al fresco jazz, accessible to everyone. The festival ends on July the 18th with crescendo performances from a couple of major talents, the two-time Grammy winner musician Jacob Collier and beat scientist Makaya McCraven. One of the biggest names performing at this year's festival is Aydin Esen, who is known for his captivating improvisations, blending fusion jazz and boss pop. He joins me now in the studio. Thank you so much for coming to our studio today. Thank you. Well, I started by defining your music with some titles and terms and classifications, but I wonder how you feel about all these, really.
Yes, I know. It's not a new thing, really. It's been a while right now. We're putting music in different levels and different names. Even I do get sometimes almost uncomfortable. But again, I always looked at music as one sound, one general sound that we all do love. But again, we have to accept it. And jazz being probably the most adventurous, I would say, along with the classical and contemporary classical music with electronics, I really wouldn't mind. It's like a little game that we never get tired of playing with ourselves or with the audiences because we're one of those. So at the end, I'm all for one sound, a good sound.
I am curious whether you see yourself as a Turkish artist, because you grew up in Turkey, but then you got educated in the US, and your sound, for me, is pretty global, but I wonder how you feel about that balance between local and global.
Globally, yes, of course, I'm a global musician because that's what I know. So that means being Turkish is in it somewhere, and but I don't really like to show it directly and to the audience, which is myself. And all the audiences, you know, because I look at it like a, a sound piece of, you can even say art, and we don't have to really call everything art these days because good sound is just a sound is almost, I don't know. I think it's the art of all arts for me, sound, art of sound. If you want to use that very correctly, which I barely started using it secretly because the appreciation level is so high.
So, is it safe to say that Aydin Esen is a Turkish jazz musician?
No, jazz is not the right term really for me.
Okay.
Because I usually sometimes look at the international press just to kind of, know who Aydin Esen is. Because I read. I just listen, I observe too. Yes, in my head, I'm just about, global writer or composer and a keyboard player or electronics artist because I know about modern music a lot. We grew up with classical music. We know about the combinations of it. Jazz is great, but jazz is not everything. So we do a lot more than just jazz. So I would just say musician and call it.
I want to hear your thoughts about the jazz scene in Turkey. How lively is it? How dynamic? How creative? What do you think?
Great scene nowadays. They make great records. And the only thing they have to do is, I think, travel more, maybe share with outsiders more. Not just think that they're just here, they're going to end up staying here. Music is kind of wants you to kind of walk around, travel around. This will be helpful. Other than that, great
you
new
find
talents.
It lively. I mean, there is a lot of debate always going on around whether jazz is relevant today, whether it's, staying at its ivory tower, or is it like, connecting to the audiences?
People are, I think, liking it a lot more because of the festivals and talking about it, and then the crowds watch each other. What is my friend liking, or I don't know, what is he liking, he's liking. It's almost like, it's like reading a book, whatever people do, you do. And then as far as I can see, there's a lot of jazz and cross stuff going on in the world. And I'm so psyched about it. People getting their brains enlarged by just being there. I love it. I love it.
And looking at Istanbul Jazz Festival, I can safely say that it's very relevant, at least to Istanbul audience, because it was really crowded.
Istanbul audience is the best.
Well, Aydin Esen, what a
Thank
pleasure
you so
to host
much.
you on our
My
show
pleasure.
today.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you.